And that was Marcus from Burn Recording with an original piece of music, composed specially and recorded for Smaulgld. Hello and welcome to Smaulgld's Indian Gold Import Update for the month of December 2016 and the year in review for 2016. Indian gold imports fell 39% in 2016. We're going to talk about what that means for gold demand worldwide, what that means for the gold price as well. As you know, or maybe you don't know, India is generally the world's largest gold consuming nation in the world, either number one or two, depending on what China does and what's reported. India is significant because it produces no gold. It imports basically all of its demand, and India has a long history with gold. And I think, I don't know this for a fact, but it's been reported that Indian households have between 18 and 22,000 tons of gold. So India clearly is an important player in the gold market. And last year, their gold imports were well down. They were the lowest since 2013. Now they rose sharply. We're going to go month by month through 2016 when the Prime Minister of India, Modi, announced that the 86% of the rupees that were then in circulation would no longer be any good and they'd have to be turned in for new rupees or deposited in the bank. Otherwise, they'd be worthless. So that set off a gold buying rush for a while. But then once the Indian people didn't have the new rupees, there weren't enough for them to go around, or their money was locked up in a bank, then they didn't have cash from which to buy gold because Indians are not in the digital age to the same extent that some other countries are. Only 50%, depending on where you are in the country, certain percentages of people don't even have bank accounts, large percentages, especially in the rural areas. So they clearly don't have debit cards and credit cards and electronic banking in some of these areas. So cash is how they did business. So this thing, aside from gold, was intended, the demonetization plan was intended to cut down on corruption. But really, it's a one-off because you only catch the corruption that one time. And I don't think it's been too successful. Even the Indian government hasn't really claimed a big success on it. But anyway, let's get back to gold. Now, of course, demonetization makes gold attractive for Indians, but then, of course, it also becomes a target for the government because if they're worried about corruption with cash, they have the same concerns with gold. We'll also see tomorrow when we do the Indian silver imports. They did not really benefit from this demonetization plan or the war on gold, so to speak. Silver's in the same boat. The Indian government isn't stupid. They know that if they clamp down on gold and people move to silver, they'll just clamp down on silver. Another thing is that silver is not a substitute for gold. I know many Americans are enamored with silver. They view it as a good alternative. It's a lower priced substitute. It's got a long monetary history. All true. But Indians don't look at silver in the same way. They view gold as it's an auspicious sign. It is part of their culture. It is how they've saved their wealth through centuries. Silver is nice, and I have some Indian friends, and they're not against silver, and they have far more than Americans. Rich Indians will buy silverware, and they'll have silver statues and things like that. But gold is where it's at. When you have a wedding, you don't bring silver, you bring gold. So the idea that somehow Indians are going to switch to silver, India, no doubt, has a massive silver demand, but silver is not going to be a substitute for gold. And although silver is on the rise on the imports, or has been in recent years. And even another aside, sorry about that. Now, Indian gold imports. You can see Indian gold imports before the demonetization in November were not doing very well. And that's in part and parcel because of the 10% duty that was put on imports. But that duty's been around since 2013. The real reason I suspect is that 2016, you saw a big rise in the price of gold. So they started out in January with a decent import number. And then as the price ratcheted higher in January, February, March, April, May, June, First 6 months of 2016, the gold price was going gangbusters, and look, they just didn't buy as much. They've been around a while. They know gold. You don't buy it when it's going up. You buy it when it's cheap. And the Indians bought a lot of gold the last few years after the price topped out in 2011. They were buying on the way down. They stopped buying on the way up. Interestingly enough, you would think when we take a look, let's scroll down now and take a look. When you look at the years when India was buying a lot of gold, you would think that would drive the price up. No, they're buying a lot of gold because the price is lower, which tells you one thing. Physical demand isn't driving the price of gold higher or lower. Physical demand reacts to the paper price of gold. And when the paper price of gold, or the futures price of gold, as determined by the Western bankers and the Western LBMA and COMEX exchange changes, when they drive the price down, the Indians buy the gold, but it doesn't drive the price up. So interestingly enough, these are the years when the price of gold went down. Now, in 2016, Indians bought very little gold, yet the price went higher. Oh, it tells you that the price of gold is determined on the futures exchanges, not in the physical markets. So in any event, Indians imported 582 tons. That's about 18 million ounces in 2016. That was down about almost 40% from the 949 tons, or almost 31 million ounces in 2015. In December, gold imports were 53 tons versus 82 tons in December 2015. So India is in a pinch right now. It doesn't look like their gold imports are going to rise, especially as the price rises. You still got that 10% duty. Indians are still cash strapped. They don't have all the cash. They haven't converted over to digital. So I don't expect that the gold imports in 2017 will be much better than 2016, at least for the first 3 months. There's really no impetus for them to go higher, and they might even go lower. Now, will that impact the gold price from going higher this year, or at least the first quarter? Probably not, because if sentiment is good on the COMEX, LBMA, and Westerners want to buy gold, so to speak, they will buy futures contracts. They will bid the price higher. They will buy gold ETFs, which they're starting to do again, and that controls the price. And then, if the price goes even higher and there's still that 10% duty in India and they don't have any cash, they'll buy even less this year probably. One thing that came up in the last month, India is reconsidering opening its colonial era gold mine. They probably won't get that much gold out of that mine. They'll still have to import massive amounts of gold. Although I saw something yesterday, there is a Russian company that had already agreed to, we reported on this, agreed to sell some gold to China, 15-20 tons over the next few years. And they just announced they're going to sell 15-20 tons to India as well. So more imports coming into India from Russia. Now, Russia, as you know, the Central Bank of Russia has added the world's most amount of gold to its reserves over the past couple of years, even far more than the People's Bank of China. But they still have, because of the number 2 or number 3 gold mining country in the world, Russia does have some extra gold that it can boost its balance of trade by shipping out some gold. Just a reminder, you can donate to Smaulgld via PayPal or Patreon or Bitcoin. If you appreciate the work that we do here, you can do so at the links below this YouTube, or you can go to the website and make your contribution there. And you can also support the site by buying your gold or silver or platinum through the Smaulgld links on the site or below this YouTube channel. You pay no more, no less than if you visited those sites directly. And Smaulgld gets a small commission. So not investment advice, but if you're interested in buying gold or silver, please consider checking out the Smaulgld affiliates and comparing pricing and shipping. So this year was, as we mentioned, was not a banner year it was the lowest for Indian gold imports, lowest since 2003, and there you can see it. So 582, you got to go back, all the way to 2003 when they imported 469 tons of gold. So we'll probably see something similar to that this year. More charts here. Here's your monthly charts. Now, it's not uncommon for there to be a few low months, but then you see these big spikes here. We got one finally in 2016, and that was just because of the gold monetization, the rupee demonetization. There was some massive amounts of buying, especially in the days surrounding that, a couple of days after they announced the the rupee demonetization. People rushed into gold, but then as you can see, it fell off. And I think January has already been preliminarily announced, and it doesn't look that good either. Anyway, you can see these charts better on Smaulgld. You go to the website, you can check them out. Also, if you're interested in India and gold, I do track it every month, and there's a set of charts. You go to gold reserves by country, you go here, and then click on that, and you can see all the different months of Indian gold imports and charts. Same with China, same with Russia. Also, you could do a search Indian gold and silver charts, Smaulgld, and you can see the historic charts there as well. But I do update them every month via Nick Laird at Gold Charts Are Us. He sources the data, does the calculations directly from the Indian Ministry of whatever it is that calculates how much gold is brought into the country. And that about does it for today. We'll have the silver imports into India tomorrow. They were down this year as well. 2015 was just a massive year. They imported about a third of the annual global silver mining production. 2016, they were only about 20. I say only. They were still 1 in 5, 20% of the annual silver mining production was eaten up by India. I don't expect that to go much higher this year either, but still, it's a substantial amount of silver that does flow into India. Thanks again for listening. Please subscribe to Smaulgld, fill in your email address, subscribe to this YouTube channel, and you can follow us on Twitter too. Thank you very much.